There are moments in life when you realize something that changes everything. You are on your own, not in a dramatic way, not all at once, but slowly, quietly. You begin to notice that no one is really there for you. Not in the way you need, not in the way you hoped. You look around and people are present, but you still feel alone. And that kind of loneliness is different. It doesn't come from being physically alone. It comes from being emotionally unsupported, from feeling like no one truly understands you. No one sees what you're going through. No one feels what you carry inside. And in that moment, something shifts because you are forced to face a reality most people spend their entire lives avoiding. There is no one coming to save you. And at first, that realization feels heavy. It feels unfair. It feels like abandonment. You begin to question everything. Why is no one there for me? Why do I feel like I'm always dealing with things on my own? Why does it seem like everyone else has support, but I don't? And those questions can pull you deeper into frustration, into sadness, into resentment. But Carl Jung would say that this moment is not the end of something. It is the beginning. Because when you reach a point where no one is there for you, something else becomes possible. You stop depending on the outside, and you are forced to turn inward. This is where strength begins. Not the kind of strength that is loud or visible, but the kind that is built in silence. The kind that no one sees. The kind that changes who you are. Most people never develop this kind of strength because they are always supported, always guided, always validated. And while that may seem like an advantage, it often keeps them dependent. It keeps them from discovering who they are without others. But when you have no one, you don't have that option. You have to rely on yourself. And at first, that feels uncomfortable because you are not used to it. You are used to looking outside for answers, for reassurance, for direction. But now there is no one to provide that. And that forces you to start asking different questions. Not, why is no one there for me? But what can I do for myself? Not, who will help me? But how can I help myself? And that shift changes everything because it moves you from dependence to responsibility, from waiting to acting, from weakness to strength. But this process is not easy because when you begin to rely on yourself, you are also forced to face yourself. And that is where most people struggle because you don't just find your strengths, you find your doubts, your fears, your insecurities, and the parts of yourself you have ignored. Jung called this the shadow. The shadow is everything within you that you have not fully accepted. Everything you have pushed away, everything you have avoided. And when you are alone, there's nothing to distract you from it. No noise, no external validation, no escape. You are left with yourself, and that can feel overwhelming. But it is also necessary, because true strength does not come from avoiding your inner world. It comes from understanding it, from facing it, from integrating it. You cannot become strong by pretending your weaknesses do not exist. You become strong by acknowledging them, by understanding them, by working through them. This is the kind of strength that is real, not performative, not temporary, but stable, because it is built on self-awareness. And self-awareness is the foundation of everything. When you begin to understand yourself, you stop reacting blindly. You stop repeating the same patterns. you stop making decisions based on fear, and you start acting with intention. But this requires honesty, a level of honesty that most people are not willing to face, because it means letting go of illusions, letting go of the version of yourself you thought you were, letting go of the stories you told yourself, and replacing them with truth. And truth is uncomfortable because it removes excuses, it removes blame, it removes the ability to hide. But it also gives you clarity, and clarity gives you direction, and direction gives you strength. This is why being alone can be powerful, because it removes distractions, it removes dependency, it removes external influence, and what remains is you, your thoughts, your patterns, your reality. And when you begin to observe that, something changes. You start to notice how you think, how you react, how you respond to situations. You start to see your habits, your tendencies, your fears. And that awareness gives you control, because you cannot change what you do not see. But once you see it, you can begin to shift it. Slowly, not all at once, but step by step. You begin to make different choices. You begin to respond differently. You begin to act in ways that align more with who you want to become. And over time, those small changes accumulate. They build. They strengthen. And eventually, they transform you. This is how strength is developed, not through one big moment, but through consistent internal work, through choosing yourself over and over again, through continuing even when no one is watching, through moving forward even when no one is supporting you. And that creates something most people never develop: independence. Not in a superficial way, but in a deep psychological way. You no longer need constant reassurance. You no longer need approval. You no longer depend on others to feel stable, because you have built that stability within yourself. And that changes everything, because now your strength does not depend on your environment. It does not depend on other people. It comes from you, and that makes it reliable. It makes it consistent. It makes it yours. Jung described this process as individuation, the journey of becoming who you truly are, not who others expect you to be, not who you were conditioned to be, but who you actually are beneath all of that. And this journey is inherently lonely, because it requires separation from expectations, from external influence, from the need for validation. And that separation can feel isolating, but it is also necessary, because you cannot discover yourself while constantly adapting to others. You need space, you need silence, you need time to understand who you are without external pressure. And that is what being alone provides. It gives you the opportunity to see yourself clearly, without distortion, without influence, without distraction. And that clarity is powerful, because it allows you to make decisions based on truth, not based on fear, not based on expectations, but based on what is real for you. And that is where true strength comes from. Not from pretending to be strong, not from forcing yourself to appear unaffected, but from knowing yourself deeply, from understanding your limitations, from accepting your imperfections, from working with yourself instead of against yourself. And that creates a different kind of confidence, not loud, not aggressive, but quiet, stable, unshakable, because it is built on reality. not illusion. And when you reach that point, something changes. You no longer see being alone as something negative. You no longer see it as something to escape. You see it as something that shaped you, something that strengthened you, something that forced you to grow. And that perspective changes everything. Because now, instead of feeling abandoned, you feel empowered. Instead of feeling weak, you feel capable. Instead of feeling lost, you feel grounded. Not because your situation changed, but because you changed. And that is the key. Strength is not something you find outside. It is something you build within. Through experience, through awareness, through effort, and most importantly, through facing yourself. So, if you feel like no one is there for you right now, understand this. This is not the end. This is not your breaking point. This is your turning point. This is the moment where you stop waiting, where you stop depending, where you stop looking outside for something that must be built inside. And if you choose to face that moment, if you choose to work through it, if you choose to understand yourself instead of escaping yourself, you will develop a kind of strength that cannot be taken away from you. Because it does not come from others, it comes from you. And once you have that, everything changes. Because no matter what happens, no matter who stays or leaves, no matter what you go through, you will always have something most people don't: yourself. And that is enough.